I see you were a CISO in the military and also at your previous place of employment. Can you tell me a little bit about those roles?
Of course. So while I was in the Air Force as a CISO, it was more so my final duty station. While I was in Washington, D.C., I was stationed at Bowling Air Force Base. I was originally just an information system security manager when I first arrived there. But it was right after COVID had hit its peak and it was kind of curtailing off. So I stepped in, pretty much turned into, okay, full scale CISO for the JWIX network for the National Capital Region. So make sure that it complies with the NIST risk management framework, make sure the ATOs go off without, any kind of worries, make sure nobody loses their network access. I loved it because the best thing about the Air Force is there's always that sense of urgency. I took my certifications, I took my experience and everything, and then I was like, let's see what the private sector has for me. The company that I was originally a CISO for on the outside, they were actually the same company that invited me to do my DoD Skill Bridge program with them. The Skill Bridge program is an amazing program specifically for transitioning service members. Transitioning service members have up to 180 days before their separation date to where they can do an internship with a company that allows them to refine their skill sets and prepare them for life outside of the military. So it gives you an understanding of what the workforce looks like, how your skills fit into what a job outside would look like. The company that initially reached out to me about the Skill Bridge opportunity, it was Seven Eagle Group, a guy by the name of Jordy Kern. Super awesome guy. He was the founder of Seven Eagle Group. Reached out to me and told me that there was this company named ViperSoc that fell under the Seven Eagle family that was looking for just a cybersecurity analyst for their SOC, right? And I was like, okay, that's only like a small fraction of what I did in the Air Force, but it's a great way to get my feet wet. But
Gotcha.
after I joined ViperSoc, I'd say it was probably about 2 weeks before Jay Sheehan, who's a really good friend of mine now, before he was like, hey, you want to be my CISO? And I was like, sure. And he was like, because we want to, expand more. You have the chops for it. He was like, you've done it before. He was like, I just didn't want to bring anybody in as a CISO, but the position's yours. So when it came to the SOC, I made sure I understood the ins and outs of everything they did.
Right.
So that was super fun. And then at that point, Jay gave me the opportunity to help expand ViperSoc services from just being the SOC to more so cybersecurity as a service. So I developed our audit and assessment arm, our vulnerability management arm, our threat management, our penetration testing, blast radius reconstruction for incidents, forensics analysis. Pretty much what we would do that for is at scale.
Well, so let me ask you this. So you obviously have a long history in cybersecurity. Were you interested in this space before you went into the military, or did it develop while you were in the military?
So I think for me, it was always something back there, right? Something that interested me because I've I found very early on that I'm a creative person, right? Like I'm a music producer, I'm an author, I do a whole bunch of different stuff. I always wanted something that, in a sense, colored inside the lines or was easily defined or easily explained, right? You can't easily explain music. It's more an emotion, a feeling. You can't easily explain art, right? Because it's something that just naturally happens. But with cybersecurity, there's an explanation for everything, no matter how dynamic or nonlinear the environment is or the landscape is. It's something that can easily be explained.
So let me ask you, what do you consider one of your biggest career successes?
I'd say one of my biggest career successes, if not my biggest career success, was or is the impact that I have on people from me sharing what I know with them. Right.
Okay.
I released a book titled Cybersecurity, and I'm about to release two more that are under the same cognitive cybersecurity vein. But cybersecurity is about the intersection between psychology and cybersecurity. So being able to help people understand how to influence change at an organizational level based off of different personality types and character traits within C-suite, users, executive boards, directors, managers, all of those different types of roles. The stressors that we face as cybersecurity professionals, how to identify them, how to be able to help your team get through those, overcome those, and then, thrive afterwards, right? Without making it feel like it was their fault. I think that was probably my biggest career success, to be able to change the landscape, even if only a little bit, right? Through that
Right.
way. The Air Force gives you plenty of opportunity to change it from a technical or managerial perspective, right? The manning spans across hundreds of bases, right? We get placed at other sister service installations, but you get one base where Nellis, for example, out here in Las Vegas has 14,000 people on the base itself, plus about another 2,000 or 3,000 at the base that they also support. But you get 3-4 people in a shop to support that entire thing from a cybersecurity perspective. Is crazy, right? But you oversee new initiatives that roll out. Like I mentioned with the whole DLP thing, DISA
Right.
comes through and they do their audits and you're held accountable for that. The Air Force gave me ample opportunity from a technical and depth perspective, but I feel as though my biggest success was being able to help people.
That's awesome. Well, tell me briefly, what is the most significant difference in being a CISO in the military as opposed to the private sector?
The biggest difference is in the military, there is no real pushback or stopping a change from happening, right? At scale, this has to happen because this is a mandate that came down from DISA, who oversees our network, or DIA, who oversees our network, or a direct mandate from the president. That differs from the outside greatly because a single person on an executive board or in the C-suite can stop one of the most important controls from being implemented within an organization, right?
Right.
The military pays thousands of dollars for a single toilet seat. Security teams can't even get a couple thousand dollars for budget. A
Yeah.
lot of the times, security teams, their budget is rolled in with the IT budget, and whether we want to accept it or not, right, the IT budget's gonna take precedence or priority over the security budget every single time,
Right.
right? The IT leaders are articulating that this new equipment, hardware, technology is going to bolster the organization's operational effectiveness versus what they have now, which could slow down production teams and things of that nature. There are very few security leaders that can articulate that security is an enabler versus a blocker, right? And
Gotcha.
what makes it
Mhm.
worse is you have great security leaders that roll into organizations where the previous security leaders weren't great. So now you're fixing a stigma that was set by the previous person that left a sour taste in everybody's mouth. In the military, people roll over and change so much that commanders forget what the last person was like. So they start every next person with a new outlook or a fresh outlook.
Yeah.
On the outside is completely different. So I say that's probably the biggest difference.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. Cybersecurity right now is just frenetic. It's a constantly evolving landscape. As a former CISO, as a person in the space currently, what is the current biggest challenges for cybersecurity professionals?
The current biggest challenge for cybersecurity professionals, one being the manning gap. There is I believe, 3.5 million manning gap in cybersecurity. That's global, right? So let's just say a percentage of that, being generous for the US, 35%.
You're talking about labor shortage.
Yep.
Yeah.
So with that being said, you see it, especially in organizations like I'm in now at Arctiq, right? As a principal security architect, you see the shortage firsthand in organizations. They have copious amounts of tool sprawl. They have users that work in their hybrid workforces, right? I was talking about it yesterday with someone. You have people that are working from home. You have people that are working from the office. You have people that are working from the lobby of the office, people that are working from the airport, the coffee shop, everything, right? All of that introduces risk. And that risk is growing day by day.
Right.
It's growing click by click, right? It's growing, second by second. So if we don't have the understanding, the experience, the resources to be able to support that growing change, it's doing is hurting our organizations, right? The CISOs are being pulled into firefighting, right? Versus being able to be proactive as a lot of them want to be.
Right.
So with that, it forces them into being more so reactive than proactive. And I'm really big on an ounce of preparation is worth a pound of cure. So if they had that time to be able to prepare, to be able to automate certain things, I have no doubt that they would, but they just don't have the time to because they don't have the teams to.
Right. Right.
So that's one. I'd say another from more so a technical perspective would be AI. And I know that's a buzz at this point. But again, I'm seeing like firsthand that organizations are implementing or integrating AI without having appropriate governance frameworks in place, right? You can have a single security control in place. You can have a DLP solution in place. You can have, access management or access controls in place, but none of that functions appropriately if you don't have a governance framework in place. You need
Right.
something that explains the ethics, the transparency, the nature of what the AI is used for, right? Who's overseeing it, who should be using it, and what should they be using it for, what the flow of the data is, what they can and can't put into it. I've seen plenty of times where, we're auditing large language models or, people using Chat GPT for certain things, and I'm not a fan of Chat GPT too much. But people will drop client data or proprietary data into the public facing version of Chat GPT. Right.
Yeah.
Or they'll use Copilot to do their day-to-day job, which I see AI as an enabler, right? It can help, it can assist us greatly with the tasks that would take us away from being more so innovative and forward thinking, right?
Sure. Well, I want to be mindful of our time. And I'm so thankful to you for this opportunity for the interview. I do want to ask you one last question. Cybersecurity is probably not a profession that's going to go away anytime, even though there are threats of AI taking over a lot of the human labor. But for a young future IT leader looking to get into that space, what would be advice for them to focus on?
My biggest advice for them, top three things, right? One, focus on the psychological aspect, right? Be able to influence change, be able to understand how people think, why they think a certain way, how to soothe any, underpinnings of hesitation that they may have from a cybersecurity perspective. The certifications will help with the foundational understanding of the concepts themselves, but you
Right.
still need to do the work on top of that to differentiate you from AI, right? So that way you can work hand in hand with it. AI is not going to do away with cybersecurity. AI is going to make it to where we can focus on the more important things while we have it assist us with taking care of the more mundane things that drive us into being more insightful and proactive. Second thing would be don't let any gatekeeping or being turned down or anything of that nature push you away from wanting to enter the field. I was fortunate. I joined the Air Force when I was 17.
Your
This
baby.
always looking for fresh faces, right? We just have to push. We have to be driven. We have to be able to forecast and find a niche for ourselves, not just find one to fit into. I've always been really big on how can I differentiate myself from the next person, because there are plenty of people out there that think that cybersecurity professionals are a dime a dozen and you can find them anywhere. You want to differentiate yourselves. And then the third thing, I'm not going to say, certifications, even though certifications are big. Have fun, right?
Yeah.
Figure out ways to be able to push it forward and drive new things without letting it stress you out. Every career would stress you out if you let it.
Yeah.
This career field is always changing. It's very dynamic in nature. You need to come into it understanding that and accepting that. The more open you are to that change, the more you can have fun and prepare for changes that may come with certain subsects or umbrellas or arches of this whole domain, right? So have fun with all of it.
Well, you are certainly wise beyond your years. And also thank you very much for your service. I think it's very commendable how you made that transition, from the armed forces into the private sector, and you thriving in this great career. So thank you.
I appreciate it.